Hi there, this is Fabi from The Next Big Rush, and today I want to tell you about the company that impressed me the most at the latest MIF, the Metals Investor Forum that I went to in March of 2018. I went there looking for more information about this particular company, and I came away very impressed. So much so, I went home and I wrote a check for their private placement, which has now, by the way, closed. I'm very sorry if you didn't get in. And because of the utter performance of the stock has been so much better than I have expected while the private placement was still open, that I need to tell you that you have to be careful not to chase this one too much. It seems that it's just calming down a little bit more now, and we're going to wait for their drill program and subsequent results, which need to be a huge hit or they're not going to be able to pull things off. Why do I tell you this? Well, I am talking about Aston Bay Holdings. Now, unless you do not go to co.ca ever, then I'm sure you've heard of this company. They have projects in Nunavut, which is way up north from even where I live, which is a pretty darn cold place anyway. And what they need to find is either zinc or copper, which is what they're looking for, mostly copper. And the ore body needs to be so rich and so large that they really need to prove themselves with the drill bit. Otherwise, because it's such a cold, difficult, and far away location, that it's either big, it's either amazing, or they won't be able to pull it off. Now, obviously management is very aware of this, and they're not stupid. They are looking for stuff in a region where grade is king. Now, I think you're going to be very impressed with the people behind this company. This is definitely a people play. Now, I'm sure you've heard in my last video, one of my last videos, that one very prominent investor came and offered $500,000 on the spot for this private placement. This is this company. This is Aston Bay. They have some of the best people in the business, especially when it comes to geology, but I don't want to give too much away. Come with me and I'll show you.
Okay, so first of all, I do recommend you go to astonbayholdings.com and check out the videos that they have posted down here under the tab Investors. Here you'll find everything that you need to know on a preliminary basis. Obviously, going into CDAR is great. Checking out the stuff that they don't talk much about is great, but here you get a lot of information to see if it's a go or not yet. So in the PowerPoint presentation, it's very current. It's from April 2018, so I'm going to use that as my basis. The thing that really caught my eye, I'm not going to lie, is back here in the investor section, is you have here no one less than David Broughton, who is possibly the best copper geology on the planet, who's still active. I mean, you could argue that there are some guys out there who are still slightly alive and have made a lot of discoveries, but this guy is responsible for discovering two, if I'm not mistaken, two of the highest grade, largest copper deposits in the world. If you know anything about Ivanhoe Mines, then yeah, this guy headed the program that found those two gigantic ore bodies. So when a guy like him goes over to a tiny little junior and becomes the head geologist, you have to pay attention. And in fact, a huge shout out to Mining Book Guy, who's a good friend of mine, and pointed this out to me before anybody else did. He said, you know what? David Broughton is going over to Aston Bay. This is starting to look more and more interesting. So thank you, Nick, for pointing that out. Okay, so let's go into the presentation. Right off the bat, you see here around $22 million market cap. This is in Canadian dollars. Today it's a little bit higher. No debt, super important. I'm trying to drill down the companies that I own and see more and more what their balance sheet looks like. So this is interesting to me. Available cash, 6 million. This is also in Canadian dollars. Their main projects are Storm, Copper, and Seal Zinc. We're going to take a look at them. They have 1 million acres worth of 100% owned or controlled, I should say, property. On this side, we have something that's super interesting to me, institutional shareholders. JP Morgan, you recognize that for sure, Mackenzie, and Sprott. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. On a previous presentation, I did see that they had Rousseau. I'm probably butchering their name right now, but Warren Irwin's investment company used to be featured as an institutional shareholder here in Aston Bay. I do not know if they've pulled out or if, and this is my theory, that they're still invested but don't want to be featured here because they don't want to, I don't know, tip their hand or something like that. It's all speculation from me. So here you have the team, David being the huge star on the team for sure. But these other guys, I've checked them out and they're all legit. Now, something that you always want to see is management and other insiders holding a nice piece of the company. Now, when you go and watch some of the videos, at least I believe this video, Tom, the CEO, says that he has $250,000 invested in this company. This was back in at least February, March. It might be more to this point. But this is what you want to see, skin in the game. So institutions hold 33%. Retail, guys like you and me, at 45%. And then you have Tech and Commander Resources holding the rest. Now, let's take a look at where they are located. Okay, so this is their property down here, which you will realize is quite close to Polaris Zinc and Lead. This used to be a mine. They closed down in 2002, and I'm going to show you the size and grade of this Polaris mine here, and I think you're going to really like it. So this is on Tidewater, so it means that they have access to ships coming in and out. They're literally, I think, 200 meters from access to water. And it's a mining-friendly jurisdiction. It's not like the Congo where David's previous discoveries were made, where now they have, this juicy deposit, but the DRC is proving to be a somewhat treacherous jurisdiction where obviously the government wants more and more money for what's in the ground. So let's take a closer look at both projects. So you have Seal Zinc up here to the northwest and Storm Copper here to the middle. Now they do own 100%, like I said, which is super important. Sometimes you buy into a company super excited because you think that whatever they have hit in the drill hole is theirs, and sometimes they own only 60%, 70%, so forth. So whatever news that comes from Aston Bay, know that it's theirs and theirs alone. Now, the Polaris mine that I mentioned to you that is right here up in this little island, which is close to this property, it was 21 million tons at 14% zinc. So you're talking about a very large deposit and a high grade deposit. And this is what Aston Bay is looking for. Now they have copper showings up to 140 kilometers strike length. So let's talk about their copper project, Storm Copper. So Storm Copper is an area where they know has quite decent grade copper. Here you have some of the highlights of a program that was done by a previous company. And remember these numbers, 50, 130 meters or so of 3% copper, 2%, 2.5% copper, etc. Because I'm going to show you how this fits into the puzzle. So what they're finding is the high-grade occurrences of copper seem to be where different types of rock meet. And I'll tell you why this is going to be important very soon. So I looked at this picture in the presentation and it meant nothing to me. Then I went back to a video and I noticed, okay, it's just three guys standing on top of, I don't know, a hill or something with grass. Well, turns out that when you zoom in, this is not grass at all. You can see here, these are rocks. The reason why they're green is because they're copper rich. If you've ever seen copper sort of age, you'll see that it turns to green. And so if this is not an indication that there's a lot of copper in the area, I don't know what is. Quick overview of their zinc project. I think this is the least interesting right now. They do have 1,000,000 tons at 10% zinc, and also 46.5 grams per ton of silver. However, 1 million ton is really not going to move the needle for where this project is. So the question is, what else is there in this region? I believe this is open, so they will continue to drill this area for more zinc, and you know that this is amazing grade. Okay, so here is where everything starts to make sense. Remember those great copper grades I told you about? The 50 meters, 30 meters, 110 meters, etc. Well, these were found around these little red blobs here. So these were faults. Basically places where there's, the coming together of different sorts of rocks. And what they believe has happened is that these were brought up to closer to the surface by the actual juicy ore body that is down here below. So you have here fluids down at the bottom. There are many layers to this region, and over time, some of this stuff was pushed upwards. Now, the interesting thing is that they have tested the age of the rocks in this region, and they have found that the age of the rocks is the same as that of the Polaris mine up north, that huge monster ore body. So they're starting to think, there might be something to this story here. And how was the Polaris mine found? Well, I just read a paper and saw it in an interview by David himself that it was found through gravity surveys. So just recently, they have spent around $2 million into gravity surveys to delineate where they should be drilling for, and the drilling is going to happen this summer. Something that's important that I haven't found on this particular presentation is if you go over to this middle video here on their website, you will see that they have their zinc project and the Polaris project on a side-by-side slide, and they show you the gravity survey. Now, this is not to say that for sure, just because there's a little bit of pink here and a little bit of pink there, that there's going to be a lot more zinc here, but it's quite interesting, as this here on the right-hand side was the huge rich ore body, and this one right here on the left side is the smaller rich deposit that they have already delineated. The question is, what more is there that they haven't found out, maybe at depth? Aston Bay, this might be huge if they really hit it, because they're looking for something that's so big and they need it to be extremely large in order to be economic where they're located. Please come to co.ca/bay to chat about it. There are excellent people and newsletter writers talking about the stock here and providing really useful information. I do want to warn you, though, that right around this area in March and April was when the private placement took place. So you had people who bought at 15 cents with warrants half warrants, I should say, at 20 cents who are already in the money or close to it, depending on the time of day that you're going to be watching this. So the price has come down a little bit and it's starting to go back up because they are due to start drilling, I believe, on the 15th of June. So here's a bit of a close-up of the trading action. Do know that because of the private placement, some shares are going to come free trading at the end of July, beginning of August. So put that down in your calendar, as I believe the price is going to soften when it comes to that stage. I'm super excited about this one. I should have bought more stock. I'm kicking myself for not having bought more stock, but you know what? You live and you learn. There's no guarantee that this is going to work out, but it's the kind of thing that if it works out, it will become hot very, very fast, because this is a CEO.ca darling as it is. Everybody's talking about it, and it might be worth a look. All right, thank you very much. Take care. See you in the next video.